Welcome to Just Settled. I'm Dan Taft. On today's show, we have Nick Rowley, Trial Lawyers for Justice, a national law firm out of Montana with law offices all over the country. Nick, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right. And Nick, we could talk a little bit too before we dive into the case. You have an incredible background. You were a military medic for the U.S. Air Force and Army, bachelor's in psychology at 19 while on active duty. Very impressive background. One of the youngest attorneys ever to be awarded Trial Lawyer of the Year by CALA. So can you speak a little bit about how you became a lawyer and how you were first drawn to it with that background?
Sure. Well, I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I have been kicked out of every school that I went to since the fourth grade.
Okay.
Military was my option. It was that or keep, working construction and doing the work that I was doing before I went into the military. So I had a stepfather who was a Navy SEAL, Vietnam veteran, and he was a big influence on me. And he said, "Kid, you got to go into the military." And I said, "Sounds great, right?" And that's really something that I was proud to do. And I knew that it would give me the discipline and the direction that I needed, and also the ability to go to college because I didn't have a family that was able to support me through college or help me to the tune of $1. So I went into the military. I enlisted when I was 17 and learned a lot. I never really had a path to go to law school, though. I didn't have a path in my mind. I thought you had to have a pre-law degree. I was doing survival training one summer with the U.S. Army. I was talking to a friend who was on like fire guard duty with me. I have to stay up all night and make sure that nobody comes in and invades your camp. And so we were up talking, and I said, "What are you going to do this next year?" And he said, "I'm going to go to law school." I said, "Really? Wow. What did you get your pre-law degree in?" And he said, "There's no such thing as a pre-law degree. You just have to have a bachelor's and you take the LSAT." I said, "What's the LSAT?"
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, and a few weeks later, when we were done with our training, he brought me the form. That's back when you filled things out, with handwriting. And I sent it off. I took the LSAT and I started law school.
It's awesome.
When I was in law school, I got certified as a law student and started making court appearances and trying cases as a certified law student. So when I finished law school and passed the bar, I hit the ground running. I was already known as a litigator.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. It's really cool.
I'd try any case that I could get my hands on, and any case, anywhere, anytime, against anyone, so long as there's a deserving client who deserves a jury trial. And a lot of lawyers don't want to try cases, so
Right.
I had trials coming out of my ears.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Want to share your settlement success stories? Join us as a guest on the Just Settled podcast. Visit our Instagram at Just Settled Case and click on the link at the top of the page to set up your interview today. So yeah, with that, if you want to kind of get started, how did you first learn about this case? How did it come across your desk initially? What were your kind of initial thoughts?
So I have a program called Trial by Human, and we do courses throughout the country to teach lawyers how to be better trial lawyers and to help lawyers find the courage to become actual trial lawyers, because there is a difference. There is a difference between an attorney at law and a lawyer and a real trial lawyer, someone who actually goes into the courtroom and accomplishes hopefully things on behalf of their clients. Being a trial lawyer is very different. So it was at one of these programs that one of the people that was attending came up and said, "Hey, I've got this case and I need some help. The insurance company is unwilling to pay $1 million. And it's a 3-year-old little boy who suffered chemical burns to his pelvic area and his genitalia. And there's permanent scarring. He was severely traumatized by this. There are videos showing the young boy when he was going through the burn debridements, actually hitting himself in the face constantly because the pain was so bad and he didn't know what to do or how to deal with it. I mean, you could see the excruciating pain, and that pain has left a mark on him for the rest of his life. So the insurance company would not pay $1 million to settle the case. So I got involved with my partners in my firm, and we dove into the case. In diving into the case, we learned that they had been lying about the amount of available insurance coverage. This was a case against a resort in South Carolina, and the the case was about chlorine levels that were not just high, they were off the charts high. And these chlorine levels are supposed to be documented each day. You have to test the water to make sure that the chlorine is doing its job,
Right.
that there's not so much chlorine in the water to start putting people at risk of suffering chemical burns, respiratory issues, other things that can happen, because chlorine can turn into a poison if there's too much of it, if it's not diluted enough within the water. So this resort and its managers were actually falsifying the records and writing down the record that the levels were normal, when in fact they were so high that the state, when the state finally came in to test, the state couldn't even get the exact level, because the level of chlorine went beyond that which the state was able to test. So, off the charts, literally. So this little boy suffered these very bad chemical burns and has permanent scarring, both physically and psychologically. It turns out that they had more insurance coverage available. So we gave them an opportunity to settle for the 1 million. That passed. Then we upped it to 10 million. That passed. 11 million. That passed. 15 million. That passed. They didn't take us seriously. We ended up settling the case for $26 million when they had the opportunity to settle for $1 million when we first got involved.
Yeah, that's very impressive and a very large number. It's something I never even would have thought about, going in a pool at a resort, that I would be at, that you could be at such risk. But now that you're mentioning it, obviously, it makes sense. And obviously this resort was wildly negligent to have that go on. When you first, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When you look at our world, right?
Yep.
We live in a civil society. So we don't live in a place where it's eye for an eye, brain for a brain, life for a life, burn for a burn. That's not justice in America. It is justice in other places in the world. So we have this civil justice system, and there are so many things out there that happen that you never ever hear about. And then you hear about these lawsuits, right? And you hear about these jury verdicts or these large settlements, and people think, oh boy, what's that all about? What they need to do is they need to look in and see the actual facts and the evidence. Why it is that a jury, listening to all the facts and being given the law by the judge, would say a case is worth that much money.
Yeah.
My experience, I've won over $3 billion in my career in settlements and jury verdicts for people that deserve it, and against, bad actors,
Right.
people and companies and corporations that have broken the rules, broken the law, and seriously hurt, maimed, and killed other human beings. So what we do is often taken out of context, out there in the world.
Of course.
Who really understand what trial lawyers do, the good ones that are out there, and there are many good ones, realize and they see that what we're doing is accomplishing justice in a very good way.
Yeah, absolutely. And this family was obviously very lucky and fortunate to kind of come across you and find you, in the way that you said that it was like a seminar, right? That group that you hold where you kind of, teach. When you,
I was lucky to be able to represent them.
yeah, absolutely. Were there concerns? I'm sure there's always concerns, but when you were first kind of gathering information on everything here, what were the specific uncertainties about the case that were kind of challenges or things that you knew your obstacles you were going to come up against? Any concerns like that? In today's digital landscape, a strong social media presence holds significant importance for legal professionals. Recognizing this need, Practice 360 by LegalSoft is pleased to announce an exclusive promotion offering a comprehensive law practice social media solution free of charge for 30 days. Practice 360 is the all-in-one solution to elevate your law firm. Access a suite of services including personalized mobile apps, website development, PR, and social media management. With everything centralized, say goodbye to juggling multiple providers. Elevate your firm's success with Practice 360 today.
Hiding evidence.
Yeah.
And that's what we did find out was occurring. We learned that they were, actually falsifying records and hiding the evidence. So we took depositions and we did discovery, and we did not leave any rock or stone, unturned.
Okay.
I see that over and over again when prosecuting a civil case. I see our opponents and the defendants in the case lying, misrepresenting the facts, hiding the evidence. So that's really with a case like that's what you sadly expect to run into.
Are there, when that happens, are there like criminal charges or additional, obviously it's a civil case, but if someone is fraudulently falsifying evidence or doing that, or is there a criminal angle that comes into that, especially with a resort, I would imagine? Um, or I mean, can you kind of elaborate on that a bit?
In this particular case, the manager who was falsifying the records was criminally prosecuted.
Okay.
It's rare though. It is rare. And in a civil case, when your opponent actually hides evidence and lies during discovery, maybe the judge will sanction them, but for the most part, they get away with it.
Interesting. What did the timeline on this specific case look like from start to finish when you first learned about it to the actual outcome and the settlement? What did that look like in terms of overall time frame?
Yeah, 3 years of hard work,
Yeah.
3 years of the family having to go through depositions and go through the ringer really to prove that they actually have a worthy case.
And at what point during that did you know that, because you said they started at a million, actually they wouldn't even do a million and then it went to 10 and 15. When did you kind of have a sense that there was going to be a settlement here, or that they were going to buckle and actually, was there a sort of a tipping point, I guess, that you could pinpoint during the whole process?
Sure. Not really. The way that I handle cases is when I take a case, I take the case with the mindset and the goal of going to trial and standing in front of an American jury. That's how I see it. We're going to go to trial. Unless you can convince me that a settlement is enough and is as much as I believe I'm going to get in front of a jury, I'm not going to settle. I'm going to trial. And that's the one thing that's different about me and my firm is we are really focused on trying cases. And there are some other great firms out there in this country that do the same thing.
Yeah.
We try to, lead the way. So when this insurance company saw that, okay, they gave us a settlement opportunity, right? And we blew it. And now we're really, moving towards trial, and trial is just a few months away. Then they offered the million.
Right.
I said, sorry, that train left the station. That ship has sailed. You had the opportunity to settle for $1 million. What I do is they're called escalating settlement opportunities. So my numbers in cases go up. They don't stay. Once you have an opportunity, if I presented you with a reasonable opportunity to pay my client and settle the case, and you blow it, then it's going to cost you more. And it's going to cost you more as time passes on. And once we have that jury trial date in front of us and it's close, we have no reason to settle or negotiate or go to a mediation because we're going to have a jury and a judge figure this out.
So was this 26 million? Was it a judgment, or did they settle during the trial? I mean, how did that kind of come about?
Before trial to avoid.
Okay. Understood.
And we found every bit of insurance that they had, which they had been lying about, and they paid us every penny of that insurance that was available.
And can you talk a little bit about how, like, the negotiations or the back and forth went there? Obviously, they were trying to lowball or pay nothing in the beginning. Right. And then you found the falsification of the evidence and everything. Was that sort of the main fulcrum in terms of how you were advocating for your client's interest and the lever that you were kind of pulling? Were those falsified records, or how did you kind of push back and negotiate and get that number higher and higher and higher?
It actually wasn't a negotiation. We gave them one opportunity. They blew it. We continued to work on the case and litigate the heck out of the case, which is what our client deserved. And we gave them another opportunity. They blew it. And we had our trial date. And as we were getting closer, we gave them another opportunity. And then they wanted to go to mediation. They wanted to negotiate what they wanted to negotiate. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. But we know what your insurance limits are now. I mean, you lied about them before, but now we know what they are. You can pay every penny of that insurance that's available and avoid a trial. Otherwise, we're going to go to trial and swing for the fences. So there was really no negotiation, a back and forth. It was, we gave them opportunities, They blew the opportunities, and then we gave them one last final opportunity.
26 million is obviously a huge number. How can you speak a little bit to how that positively impacted? Obviously, the trauma is the trauma. You know, the person they experience this, that's a challenge they're always going to have to deal with. But getting that restitution and getting that closure, can you kind of speak to how that helped this family move forward, and just kind of touch on that topic?
Sure. The money is invested with court supervision and approval. So this little boy, over the course of his life, will end up with well over $115 million throughout the course of his.
Wow.
And what does that do? Well, he's going to have everything that he needs, because this 3-year-old, his brain was permanently scarred. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is a real thing.
Mhm.
Think of the brain, and we have all these neural pathways, right? We have our thoughts, we have our memories. Well, his, at the age of 3, were scarred.
Yeah.
They were scarred. The emotional scarring and psychological scarring that occurs in the brain with PTSD is very real, and it will affect the course of his life forever. So, set of insurance companies worth $50 billion. Yeah, they can pay the $26 million to the little boy.
Absolutely.
That's fair. That's justice, because I can't go into his brain and remove those scars and take out those memories and take out those mental movies. I can't shape the way that his brain is now going to develop without PTSD. I can't go in and fix that. And I can't go down, to his groin and take the scars off of his penis and his privates, where he's probably not going to grow pubic hair the way that everyone else will. He's going to have that for the rest of his life, and it will impact every facet of his life, no matter what therapy we get him, no matter how well, we can create a prosthetic, life around him to give him the support that he needs. He will always have this, and he'll have this because of a rich corporation's negligence.